Number 10. Rajon Rondo's behind the back fake pass. Now, I'm sure the behind the back fake pass move was done before, but Rondo was the guy who really popularized it and made it his own. Throughout his career, he was always known for playing mind games with his opponents, and this move is basically the essence of who Rondo is as a player. He's able to pull it off really well because of his combination of large hands and a long wingspan. So he makes it more convincing when he stretches all the way behind his back, and because he's such a great passer, opponents gotta respect the pass, even if they know Rondo will do the fake. Other players recently, like Ben Simmons, have also adopted Rondo's signature pass fake. If done correctly, it's very effective. Number 9. Manu Ginobili's Euro Step. Even though there's been a lot of European players who played in the NBA before Ginobili arrived, I'd say that Ginobili definitely made the Euro Step into what it is today. A ton of players have incorporated the Euro Step into their games, and sometimes it's incredibly deadly, especially when a guy like Giannis does it. All the credit deserves to go to Ginobili for popularizing the Euro Step in the NBA. In his prime, he was known for his flashy playstyle, and the Euro Step was flashy and exciting to watch, but above all else, it's really effective. When you don't want to run into a defender and get an offensive foul, you can whip out the Euro Step and go around them. It's also good when the defender jumps up for the block, but the offensive player never goes up, and instead just goes around for the layup. It's amazing how many players use it today, but nobody did it better or made it look as cool as Manu Ginobili. Number 8. Magic Johnson's no-look pass. In the 1980s, the Showtime Lakers played the most entertaining style of basketball the NBA has ever seen. None of that would have been possible without Magic Johnson, and more specifically his incredible passes. His trademark was the no-look pass, which he used in a variety of different ways. The creativity of Magic was second to none. He was arguably the most creative passer ever, up there with Pete Maravich. Everything he did was not only great to watch, but it confused even the best defenses, and sometimes it would even surprise his own teammates. His passing tricked everybody, and it just showed that Magic's court vision was far ahead of anyone else at the time. He was always 2 steps ahead of everyone else, and before defenders could react, the Lakers already scored. I also think that Magic's height played a role in allowing him to make passes like that. Being a legit 6'9" point guard was unheard of, and he can basically see over the defense and find the best spots to pass the ball. Regardless, Magic is the greatest point guard of all time, and it's unlikely anyone would ever surpass him for that title. Number 7. Steph Curry's long threes. I had to include Curry on this list because he was the guy who drastically changed the NBA in recent years. This three-point era where teams are shooting like 35 or 40% of their field goals from beyond the arc is largely because of the influence of Curry and the Golden State Warriors. Curry shoots threes from like 25 or even 30 feet away from the basket, which is insane. He does it on a consistent basis and actually makes them. In his 2015-16 season, his best season of his career, he shot 67% from beyond 28 feet. That's freaking insane. He took about 50 shots from that distance all season, so the sample size was decent. It's crazy how good he is shooting from that far away, but when you think about it, it kinda makes sense. Usually, defenders don't contest shots that are, that far away, so Curry was probably wide open on a lot of them. Other players have also started to shoot more long threes because apparently it's not a bad shot anymore. Damian Lillard has been doing this for a while too, and same with Ryan Anderson. Being able to shoot from that distance puts a ton of pressure on the defense, and it's also why the high pick and roll is the Warriors' most effective play, which they run a lot. The spacing is just insane with Curry's gravity, being able to just stand there and still be the biggest threat on the floor. Number 6. Tim Duncan's bank shot. Duncan's bank shot is one of the reasons why he got the nickname the Big Fundamental. He was so fundamentally sound on both ends of the floor. Offensively, he wasn't flashy at all, but he mastered the basics, which was the foundation for his success. Unfortunately, the bank shot is rarely used today. It's used in less than 8% of a team's total field goal attempts. It was never that popular in any era, to be honest, and it's more of a niche thing for certain players. For Duncan, he usually posted up at the left or right elbow, so he preferred banking it in instead of going up for a regular jump shot. Obviously, it worked out for him. 5 championships, 3 finals MVPs, 2 regular season MVPs, they speak for themselves. Whenever anybody thinks about Duncan, his bank shot is typically the first thing that comes to mind. Back in his playing days, everyone in the league knew that he was the best at making them and nobody else came close. Number 5. LeBron's chase down block. LeBron has a few trademark moves that could probably make up an entire list by themselves, but I think the chase down block is his most recognizable move. In Game 7 of the 2016 Finals, that was the defining moment of the game, along with Kyrie's three-pointer. What makes this move so scary is that every time an opposing player gets a steal, they have to be wary of LeBron. If they don't, it's gonna be an easy block for him because he's so good at timing his jump. It's basically common knowledge, you gotta go up strong to not get blocked by LeBron. Other players have done the chase down before, like Tayshaun Prince for example, who probably has the most famous one, but none of them do it as consistently as LeBron. He's a 6'8", 250, 260 pound guy who runs as fast as any guard in the league, and even at an older age he can still jump as high as ever. Man, it's honestly incredible how well he's aged. I remember back in the day, people tried to argue that LeBron's game will age very poorly because he relies on athleticism, and it made sense at the time. But what nobody realized is that how well LeBron takes care of his body, and he got a lot smarter too. Number 4. Allen Iverson's crossover. I'd argue that he was the most influential player since 2000. So many young players looked up to him because he played the game in his own way with his own unique style. During a time when guards his size were expected to be, actual point guards, Iverson changed that expectation. Instead, he focused on scoring and became a scoring machine. In my opinion, his 2 most famous highlights were when he crossed up Michael Jordan as a rookie and when he crossed up Tyronn Lue and stepped over him. And what do you see in both of these highlights? His crossover. Iverson's crossover is his signature move and inspired millions of people to go out to their backyards and try to copy it when playing pickup. Although there's been some controversy about it recently, Tim Hardaway believed that AI carried the ball every time he did a crossover, and I will admit he bent the rules a little bit, but it was still hard to call it traveling. Nowadays, pretty much everyone quote-unquote carries the ball during a crossover, but the refs don't call it. So I guess it's legal? Regardless, the crossover in general made the game a lot more fun to watch. It's a huge part of basketball culture, and Iverson was the guy who paved the way for the new generation of combo guards. Number 3, the fadeaway. So I want to talk about a couple different iconic fadeaways. First, we have Dirk's one-legged fadeaway, his signature go-to move that is pretty much unguardable. And other players started to copy it too because of how good it is. It worked amazingly for Dirk because he was so tall. When you're a 7-footer doing a fadeaway and sticking out a leg to create space, there's nothing anybody could do. He's going to get a high percentage shots every time because it's like the defender isn't even there. The other fadeaway is the MJ or Kobe style fadeaways, where they create space by making a quick move or turning their shoulder after a post-up. Now, what separates MJ and Kobe's fadeaways from the average player's fadeaway is that they primarily rely on their footwork and elevation when they jump. They're only 6'6" with average wingspan, so they can't just shoot over everybody like Dirk. In my opinion, they also have the most aesthetically pleasing fadeaways to watch because it's just a cool move. A mid-range fadeaway is a high-risk, low-reward shot because it's kinda inefficient, but when it goes in, it looks amazing. Kobe, especially, made a career out of taking difficult shots, and the fadeaway is no exception. It's really hard to pull off, and most coaches nowadays don't even want their players to take a shot like that. But for those 3 guys, it was their bread and butter. Number 2, Hakeem Olajuwon's Dream Shake. The good old Dream Shake, the move that defined Hakeem Olajuwon's career. In his most famous highlight, the one against David Robinson, Hakeem put him in a spin cycle. This was in the 1995 Western Conference Finals. Robinson got his MVP trophy and Hakeem got his revenge, putting up 35 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, and over 4 blocks in the 6-game series. It was without question the best series of his career, and he put on a full display of his Dream Shake. Hakeem is arguably the greatest post-up player in history. He was so versatile and quick. He was unguardable in the paint because he had so many moves, and if one move didn't work, he just used the next one. Hakeem has said that the inspiration for his Dream Shake was based off of his days playing soccer. He realized that soccer players had great footwork, so he incorporated it into basketball. The Dream Shake was all about footwork and instinct. A lot of superstars over the years have went to Hakeem to get some training to improve their footwork, but the Dream Shake is something that can't be taught. And that's why we'll never see another Hakeem Olajuwon. Number 1. Kareem's Skyhook. The most iconic move ever. The move that defined the career of the player who scored the most points in NBA history. The move that looks pretty basic and should be easy to replicate, yet nobody has been able to do it. And why is that? Well, firstly, Kareem was massive. He was listed at 7'2", but it's been speculated that that was without shoes on, so he'd probably be listed at 7'3", or heck, maybe even 7'4" if he played today. Secondly, Kareem's Skyhook was a lot different from the normal hook shot. When most players do a hook, the power comes from their arms. But with Kareem's Skyhook, he used mainly his wrist. This allowed him to get a lot more control when he shoots, cause it's almost like a regular jump shot. Additionally, Kareem barely moved when he did the Skyhook. He lifted up his leg and jumped a little bit, but the main idea was to focus on controlling the wrist movement to accurately hit the shot. In recent times, players try to replicate the Skyhook, but they usually end up doing this weird running hook floater thing. It looks cool, but it's inconsistent. Playing in the post in general is a lost art, as most teams are moving away from it because very few players are good enough to score efficiently from there. I doubt we'll ever see anybody else master the Skyhook, the most unguardable shot in NBA history. And that's all, folks. Those were, in my opinion, the top 10 greatest, most iconic signature moves ever. Honorable mentions to George Gervin's finger roll, Tim Hardaway's crossover, James Harden's step back. Honorable mention to Pistol Pete's elbow pass, and Jason Williams' elbow pass as well. And Kevin Garnett blocking shots after the whistle. Alright, I hope y'all enjoyed that video. Thank you all so much.